This is the second video under Financial Management Unit 1, Introduction to Finance. And in this section, we're going to cover the topics about time value of money, simple interest versus compound interest, and the concepts of present value and future value. The idea behind this is that these would again be some of the instrumental parts in terms of our understanding on how do we value securities, and the concepts that we learn here in terms of time value of money and present value and future value are going to have far-reaching implications and applications in financial services as such. Right, so let's begin with the first concept here, which is time value of money, and let's try and understand what does this stand for. The question is money today or later, right? Now imagine someone gives us two options. Take rupees 100 today or take rupees 100 after a month. If you think about it for a minute, almost all of us will take option one. We would want to kind of take the money today because of the uncertainty over a month. So there are multiple things. There is uncertainty over what will happen over a month. And the fact that you get the money early, you can do something with the money, right? So there is an opportunity lost if you take it after a month, right? If you have the money in your hand, you can probably use it somewhere. If you don't have the money, what will you do with it any which ways, right? So all of us will take option one. Now imagine that someone is asking you to pay for a certificate holding which will entitle you to get this 100 in a month, right? So instead of the money, people are saying there's a certificate. You can get the certificate today, and if you hold it, then after 1 month, you can get 100, right? Now, how much would you be willing to pay for this? Once again, if you think about it, if we have established correctly that taking rupees 100 today is better than, is going to give us more satisfaction than taking rupees 100 after a month, then logically this stance should be more valuable and this should be less valuable for us, right? Now, if taking rupees 100 after a month is less valuable, then today, and logically rupees 100 today is equal to rupees 100. Rupees 100 after a month today may be equal to rupees X. We have clearly said that rupees 100 today is more valuable than this. So A is more valuable than B, right? If A is more valuable than B, then the certificate that gives us B has to be less than 100. So the value that you will pay for this certificate is going to be less than 100. The price of the certificate will be less than 100, or 100 will be greater than the price. That seems logical, right? You would pay lesser for a certificate that gives you 100 after a month than, let's say, something that gives you 100 today. If you have two certificates, one that gives you 100 today, for that you'll pay 100. But if something gives you 100 after a month, you're essentially taking on an uncertainty and you're losing an opportunity because you will get the money after 1 month, and hence the value of rupees 100 after a month should be lower than the value of rupees 100 today. Basic logical principles, right? Now, but exactly how much would you be willing to pay for it, right? How do we find out what is going to be the value of that certificate, that if you buy this certificate and you hold this, you are entitled to rupees 100 after a month, right? Now think about it this way. If you were to get this amount today, you could earn some interest on it. However, if you get this after a month, you will lose that interest, right? So you should be willing to pay only that much, which is the interest that will generate 100 at the end of the month. Effectively, you are kind of foregoing that interest, right? In other words, let's assume you are borrowing this money from someone and you don't want to make money yourself. If you borrow some amount X today, then after a month you have to pay X plus interest, right? and you know that you're going to get 100, and if you don't want to make a profit, x plus interest should be 100. So x should be equal to 100 minus whatever interest you're going to pay for borrowing 100, for borrowing the amount that you're paying today, right? So if the monthly interest is rupees 2 that you're going to get per rupees 100, then you'll be willing to pay about 98, right? You borrow 98, you pay an interest of 2 out of the 100 that you get, right? So effectively, the first thing that we established was position B, which is take 100 after a month, is going to be less than A. So A is going to be greater than B. That's the first thing that is established. The second thing is what is going to be the value of B, right? That's the important parameter that we have to decide on. The value of B is going to be effectively the interest that you have to pay in order to kind of raise that money, right? So if you borrow an amount X and you have to pay an interest Y, X plus Y is going to be 100, right? And that's basically the second tenet that comes out, is essentially you will be willing to pay lesser and to an extent of effectively the interest you are foregoing for not taking this rupees 100 today. Logical again? So let's move ahead. Now note that in both the cases, the amount is the same, right? So there is this concept of value versus amount, or price versus amount, that comes in, right? The amount is the same. You're going to get 100 at time 0 and you're going to get 100 at time 1. There's no difference between the price or the amount you're getting, but the value is different. The value is not the same. The 100 today will be valued at exactly 100, but 100 after a month will be valued approximately at 98, right? And that is why it is important for us to actually understand this concept of time value. There could be projects, one of which gives a cash of 1000 in year 1, another one which gives a cash of 1000 in year 2. You will almost always end up with the cash flow in year 1. Earlier the better. The faster you get money, the better it is. And one of the reasons why money loses its value over a period of time, right? It's losing its value if you're taking it after a month, is inflation. It is the uncertainty that the prices will rise in future. So what rupees 100 can buy today, you will not be able to buy the same amount with rupees 100 after a month or after a year, right? So all of us will ask for a slightly higher amount if you're getting the money after a while. Now think of it, businesses, when they sell to a client, they typically say that if you pay in 30 days, you pay us 100. If you pay beyond 30 days, you have to pay us 101 or 102. That extra 1 or 2 is the compensation for the opportunity lost or the risk or uncertainty that you're taking on account of inflation. You're saying that if you pay early, you pay the same amount, but if you pay late, then you have to pay more because the value for me is going to diminish in future, right? So you can't pay me the same price after a month or a year because I can't buy the same amount of goods with that money. I need to buy I need to be able to buy the same value worth of goods, and for that you'll have to pay me more, right? So effectively the value is what we are talking at, right? So 100 today is valued at 100. 100 after a month is valued at 98. It's quite possible you would want 102 here. So in other words, 100 today would be equivalent to 102 after a month if you're assuming 2 rupees per 100 interest a month, right? So if someone says I can give you 100 today versus someone saying I can give you 102 after a month, these two now become indifferent. You can accept either because the guy who's paying you is compensating you for holding it for that 1 month, right? That's the concept of time value of money. Earlier the better. The farther you go in future, the bigger the amount you will ask for